Hey Mavs fans, welcome into another edition of All Things Mavs. And today, I'm answering all your questions. But before we get into today's show, I want to make sure that you have subscribed because I know we get a lot of people that watch the show but aren't subscribed. So here's what I'm going to do. We're calling for a subscriber check. And the best way to let me know that you have subscribed is by typing Go Mavs down in the comment section below. So go ahead and scroll on down to the comments and type Go Mavs if you have subscribed.
All Things Mavs.
First comment of the day is coming from Cooper for the MVP. Not sure which Cooper you're talking about there. Maybe Amari Cooper? Probably not this season. But Cooper starts it off with saying, I've been subscribed since you had 2,000. Hey, look at us now. We're at like 7.3 thousand. So let's keep that growing. He says, hashtag trade, which is the way we're going to do this here. Seth, Jalen Brunson, 18 and 31 for CJ McCollum. Cooper, I appreciate the trade idea, and I think it's a fun one because I like CJ McCollum a lot. In fact, I think CJ McCollum would be a great fit on this Mavs team as a secondary playmaker next to Luka Doncic. Only downside with McCollum that I have is that, in all honesty, he's not a terrific defender, but he's definitely better than what the Mavs already have in Brunson and Curry. Now, this past year with the Trailblazers, who just barely snuck into the playoffs, he averaged 22 points per game, 4 boards and 4 assists, and was an outstanding shooter at 38% from 3. But we all know what CJ McCollum really does and where he really gets his buckets. They usually come in the mid-range. Now, let's say Cooper's idea comes to fruition, and they are able to land CJ McCollum for a package involving Jalen Brunson, Seth Curry, and the 2 draft picks this year. All of a sudden, you have your secondary starter in the backcourt next to Luka Doncic for the long term because CJ McCollum's still pretty young. He can still grow with this team. Now, the problem I do have with this lineup is you take a huge step backwards defensively because CJ's not historically been a good defender. Luka obviously isn't a great defender. Tim Hardaway Jr. is good, but he's undersized for his position. And then Finney Smith at the 4 is probably your best defender out on the floor. But let's take a look at the 2 guys the Mavs would be giving up in Cooper for the MVP's trade idea, Brunson and Seth Curry. Now, Brunson this past year, 8 points per game and 3 assists, 35% from 3, not bad. Seth Curry, 12 points, and the bread and butter came when he shot 45.2% from beyond the three-point arc. And here's the problem, Cooper. Seth and Jalen Brunson combined don't even average what CJ McCollum does. So I think the Portland Trailblazers say no unless McCollum's just like, hey, get me out of here. Then maybe that gets it done, but I don't think that one is going to happen. So if you could come up with your best trade idea and you could come up with your best trade target for the Dallas Mavericks, who would it be? Whoever the name is, shout it out down in the comment section. Now, I just did a show pretty recently on 5 targets. I named Drew Holiday. I talked about Buddy Hield. I talked about Victor Oladipo, Blake Griffin, and Rudy Gobert. But maybe you got a different name in mind that I haven't even mentioned. Go ahead and shout it out down in the comment section. Let's go to Lawrence Brian Cortez. Comes into the comment section pretty often and has this one to say. Mavs get Bradley Beal. The Wizards get Jalen Brunson, Tim Hardaway Jr., DeLon Wright, and not 1 but 2 first-round picks. Lawrence, I love the idea of getting Bradley Beal on this team. Here's my only issue. Bradley Beal is averaging 30 points per game, or at least he did last year with the Washington Wizards. And he has stated multiple times that he does not want to go anywhere. So if the Mavs did want to trade for him, they'd have to give a lot more up than just Tim Hardaway Jr. and some scraps along with a couple draft picks. Again, Bradley Beal is now saying he is loyal to the Wizards. He did sign an extension there, which I didn't really understand because he said he wants to win, and the Wizards are kind of on the fast track to mediocrity for a long time coming. So I appreciate what Lawrence did in sending us that trade idea, but I decided to take matters into my own hands and do something that I think could get the Wizards to at least think about it. And now, Mavs fans, I know you're probably like, Jimmy, what the heck? What is going on? Here's what you have to understand, guys. Beal at 30 points per game is probably better than anyone on this Mavs team not named Luka Doncic. And yes, I'm including Kristaps Porzingis in that. So I think the only way you get the Wizards to even think about this is by giving them both Dorian Finney-Smith and Maxi Kleber, who I believe are our 2 most valuable role players, and they're on such valuable contracts. You give them Justin Jackson, who would kind of be a project forward, and DeLon Wright, as he could be a backup to an injured John Wall, along with both picks this year. And then you got to ask yourself, is this really worth it? Because I'm not giving you this trade idea as an idea of like, hey, I would do this 100%. I'm giving you this idea because I think this is something that would get the Wizards to think about it. Whereas Lawrence's idea, I think they hang up the phone and probably laugh in our faces. But with this happening, now you got two 30-point-per-game scorers in Luka and Bradley Beal in the backcourt. Again, my problem with this lineup is you take another step back defensively. You have to move Dwight Powell to the starting 5 and KP to the starting 4, and that's where some issues start to rise. But if you do have a chance to get Bradley Beal, you got to take that opportunity. I love what Bradley Beal does, and he would answer so many questions for this Mavericks team. The only question I would have is, what do the Wizards want, and how would it work defensively with Luka and Beal in the same backcourt? Now, we just went back-to-back trade ideas for two different shooting guards. One of them, in CJ McCollum, more of a ball handler, mid-range type guy. The other guy, Bradley Beal, great athlete, a spot-up three-point shooter, and a quick 30 points every single night. But which one would you rather have? Now, keep in mind, CJ McCollum maybe a little less expensive than Bradley Beal, but Bradley Beal, definitely the better player and better scorer right now. So if you got CJ, guess what you type? CJ in the comment section. If you got Bradley Beal, type BB. And no, I'm not talking about Big Brother. I'm talking about Bradley Beal. Now I want to tell you about our friends over at Fanatics that are really doing an awesome deal right now for just a limited time. Your Mavs masks are up to 30% off right now. You're not going to find that deal anywhere else. I tried to find Mavs masks somewhere else, and then someone in the office was like, Jimmy, just go to Fanatics. We even have a link ready to go for you. And I was like, oh, bet. And I got my own. Chatsports.com/Mavs mask. You can get one for yourself, 2 packs of 3, or even packs of 4 for up to 30% off, and they're shipping for free only for a limited time. So I wanted to tell my Mavs fans about this before anybody else. So again, that link is chatsports.com/Mavs mask. Let's go to Marjan Mikovsky. And Marjan, I hope I got that name right. If I got it wrong, you can let me know in the comment section. He or she says, is it time to sign Boogie Cousins? And when I first saw this, I was like, no, absolutely not. Never, ever. And then I was like, well, we do need an enforcer. Dwight Powell is coming off an Achilles injury. Willie Cauley-Stein does have a player option. And DeMarcus Cousins is only 30 years old. Could this work? Guys, listen, you're going to call me crazy. Some of you might call me crazy. Some of you might think I'm a genius. But I think I'm starting to come around on the idea of giving Boogie Cousins a minimum contract. And I'm going to break down why here in just a second, but I do want to take a look at his stats before we get into the why this would work for the Mavs. The last time we really saw Boogie even somewhat healthy was back in 2018-2019 when he was still with the Warriors before he signed with the Lakers. And he put up 16 points per game and had 8 rebounds. Also decently efficient at 48%, trying to shoot the 3. The 3 didn't work for him that well in 2018-2019, but still was dealing with some injury issues in Golden State. Now here's the thing, and here's where I kind of want to get into this. The Mavs have a lot of big men on this roster. I mean, a lot of big men already on this roster. But the one thing about these big men is that none of them, except maybe Willie Cauley-Stein, although we didn't really get to see much of him in the season, are true enforcers. I love KP, but man, if there's a fight on the court, I don't want KP swinging his 7'3" arms around. Maxi Kleber could be an enforcer if he wants to. He's strong enough, but he just doesn't have that really kind of dog in him, I don't think. I like Dwight Powell. Super nice guy. Not going to fight for you. Boban, people literally say he's the nicest guy in the league. And then if Cauley-Stein opts in, great. But here's the deal. Powell's coming off an Achilles injury. Cauley-Stein could be out of a player option. And Kristaps Porzingis isn't 100% healthy all the time. So maybe you just say, hey, what the heck? Let's give this last minimum contract out to Boogie Cousins. I know that if Marcus Morris tries to mess with Luka Doncic, then DeMarcus Cousins is going to step onto the floor and say no, sir, and put somebody on their butt if he has to. I don't really know where he's at health-wise. I know he wanted to play in the bubble, but he just wasn't ready. So if our training staff says he's good to go, give him that contract. If not, I'm not going to be mad, not going to lose sleep if we don't sign Boogie Cousins. But I wouldn't hate the idea either. Give him a shot. Now, DeMarcus Cousins is the one veteran that is kind of in the back of my mind, but what we need right now, what the Mavs need right now, is a tough-minded veteran. They've talked about it multiple times. Tim McMahon even mentioned it. That one name that comes to my mind is Jay Crowder, former Dallas Maverick. I think he would be perfect in Dallas, but not about what I think. It's about what you guys think. So I want you to name one veteran that's going to be a free agent that you want the Mavs to sign this offseason. Last question of the day, and here's the thing, Jag214, I appreciate you coming on the channel. I appreciate you watching. But I am going to tell you, I'm giving you a fair warning. I'm bringing your question up because it is so ridiculous. And here's what we got. Mavs go after Trae Young by giving up Jalen Brunson, Justin Jackson, Trey Burke, DeLon Wright, and not a first rounder. No, Jag says Trae Young's not worth the first rounder. He says a second rounder. He says Trae Young's only 22. He can ball and wouldn't cost a lot. Jag, I don't know what planet you're living on, brother, but welcome to the light side. Welcome to the good side of all things Mavs, where I'm going to educate you. Trae Young is amazing. He is incredible. He's no Luka Doncic. He can't play defense. But Trey Burke will never even be a half of what Trae Young is, even though he shares the same first name. DeLon Wright is a scrub. Justin Jackson is a bust. And Jalen Brunson is nowhere close to the level of Trae Young either. So I'm sorry, but that will never happen. I also don't think Trae Young would ever want to play with Luka Doncic. Those two are already connected in so many other ways. But appreciate you for sending in the question. If you want a question pulled up on the next All Things Mavs mailbag, comment down below, and you just might see it come up.